37 minutes right now past 11 o'clock. Some of you hearing sirens. We've got ourselves a tornado warning now in effect for parts of Johnson County. This is going to go up until about midnight or so for tonight. This is our view from Kansas Speedway. Very electrical storm. I could hear the sirens even here at the station. This is a storm that's coming into the metro. And it's one of those little spinnies that we can sometimes get in these type of situations right along the leading edge of these thunderstorms. So for parts of Johnson, Wyandotte, and Jackson County on the Missouri side, we've got now a tornado warning in effect, and this is going to go until 12 o'clock or so. For other areas of Johnson County, Leavenworth and Wyandotte, you folks are under a severe thunderstorm warning, and for areas further north of Kansas City, also a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to go up until about 12 o'clock. So let's break it down for you. I want you folks, if you live basically north of 435 to I-70, so 435 on the south side, Johnson County, into southeastern portions of Wyandotte County, right up to about I-70. And for those of you in the western portion of Jackson County, basically just towards the west of 49, I want you folks to go ahead and take cover from this storm. This includes a large chunk of the Kansas City metropolitan area, stretching from northeast Johnson County on the Kansas side into Jackson County, and then southeastern portions of Wyandotte County as well. Tornado warning in effect now for about another 20 minutes or so. Again, right along the leading edge of this particular storm. This is a storm that I was kind of keeping an eye on when it was over towards the DeSoto area, because I started to notice maybe a little bit of front side rotation to this storm system. And we're seeing indications now that the storms, after this whole entire night where the storms did not tap into the surface instability that's been down here at the ground for the last few hours, finally they did this, and it's happening right on top of the state line. So again, for areas further north of Kansas City, not so much, but for this area right there, that's where we've got our tornado warning that's in effect. And again, this is going to include roughly the northeastern portion of Johnson County, southeastern portions of Wyandotte County as well. Further down the line, maybe not so much. So again, for the metro, that's the main concern right now. Other thunderstorms continue up to our north. So here is where the storm, the possible rotation area, could be right there, right around the Shawnee area. You can see how that tornado warning just got pushed a little further east. So basically from Shawnee down towards I-35, up towards KCK, and then points east from there. And that would include Kansas City, Missouri. That would include Grandview, that general area, Independence as well, or just towards the west of Independence. If there is a little something going on, it would be right about there, very close to just south of I-70, very close to I-35, if, big if, there's anything going on. But again, we've gotten some indications that we have had a little spin up develop right along the leading edge of this particular storm. So again, for you folks who are in this red boxed area, I want you to go ahead and take cover from the storm just as a precaution. I want you to get down to the lowest portion of your home, a basement preferably. If you don't have a basement, for those of you who are brand new to Kansas City, an interior hallway, bathroom, but I want you to stay as close to the ground as you possibly can. Typically, these type of tornadoes aren't very strong, but they could still produce winds of 100 miles an hour. And whether it's straight line winds or tornadic winds, that'll still do some damage if you're not careful. So again, for this general area here, right towards the south of I-70, right near and east of Shawnee, I want you folks to go ahead and take cover from this storm. Meteorologist Jacob Lanier and I have both been tracking this for the course of the evening, and Jacob is now over on the other side of the studio with a little bit more information on this. Jacob.
Yeah, Joe, so again, kind of this is the rotation that's spun up right on the leading edge of this severe thunderstorm that's moving right now towards the state line. So we still have severe thunderstorm warnings in the Northland, but no imminent tornado threat for Platte and Clay County. This is just really for northeastern corner of Johnson County. I know that sirens may even be sounding across all of Johnson County right now, but this really is only for northern Overland Park, Shawnee, Westwood, Roland Park. and then into Kansas City proper and into southern Kansas City. So this is the tornado warning. It's until midnight now, so for 18 more minutes. And I wanted to zoom in here right to street level and show you where the rotation is. As of our last radar scan, which was about 2 minutes ago, hopefully we'll get another update here shortly, right at I-35, right at Metcalf. Okay, so everyone knows where that is. This is tracking almost due northeast along I-35, and I bet right now it's going to be approaching the 69 highway and say Roland Avenue exit there along Interstate 35. And there's even a tight couplet there right near Shawnee Drive as well, just north on there on 69. So it looks like just north of 35 Interstate, moving off towards the north and east. Here's a few ETAs. It's going to be crossing the state line there near Westwood Hills at about 11:45. So in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So again, here, Mission, Westwood Hills, Roland Park, Shawnee, even parts of KCK, go ahead and get to your safe place. That's an interior room, lowest level in your home, away from doors and windows. And then this is going to cross into Jackson County, probably in the next 5 minutes. So essentially, from downtown Kansas City through, say, the Plaza, Midtown, Westport, all the way down to about, let's say, maybe where the Plaza is. That's where the tornado is going to be tracking. This is a quick spin up, so it hopefully will not be long lived. And we're looking for any debris. Joe, I'm not seeing a lot of debris, but the rotation is certainly there, and it's kind of a tight but small couplet right there along Interstate 35 at the Metcalf Avenue exit. So we'll see if this continues to track northeast. Hopefully it'll weaken a little bit. Still kind of a messy signal, though, in the middle of this tornado warning.
So far, no reports of anything actually on the ground, but again, middle of the night, it's kind of tough to make out, especially now with the rain that's pushing on through. So as Jacob mentioned, right around here, very close to 35, kind of see them nudging this tornado warning just a little bit further east. If there is a tornado, it's in this general vicinity, particularly just south of metropolitan area, just towards the north of Shawnee Mission Parkway. And that would be heading towards, as Jacob mentioned, the northern portion perhaps of Roland Park. Then it'll cross over the border and move towards perhaps the Westport area. Again, we don't have anything officially confirmed on the ground at this point, but middle of the night, tough to make out. There is a ton of lightning out there, but these things typically are very difficult to make out along the leading edge of these lines of thunderstorms that come on through. They're not your big tornadoes like what we were showing you earlier during the newscast up across Michigan. These things are usually a lot smaller and typically very, very skinny. But whether or not it's, like I mentioned, tornadic winds or straight line winds, you can get enhanced areas of strong wind gusts coming out of this storm, regardless of whether or not there's a tornado or not on the ground. But it's a decent signal, and it's been something that we've been concerned about. These storms never did really do much of anything until they got around the Topeka area, perked up a little bit, but nothing dramatic. And then once they got closer to the state line, that's when all of a sudden it seemed like things got to be very, very messy. And that's how we've started to see this little spin up develop very close to about, Johnson Drive, the Roland Park area, now moving off towards the east, towards the Roland Park area. So just a heads up, for a timing standpoint, perhaps it's due towards the Westport area by about 11:49. I want you folks, if you live generally south of, let's say, K32 and north of Shawnee Mission Parkway, I want you folks to go ahead and take cover from this storm. This little corridor right in through here. All right, and again, that'll cross over the state line here very, very shortly. I'm going to take down this track because the storm has jumped. You can see it jumping already now towards the Westport area. So strong gusty winds, if nothing else, coming out of the storm system as it continues to press off towards the east. Jacob.
Hey, yeah, so Joe, I just pulled up our FOX4 tower camera, okay? So this is a little bit up in the storm, but essentially visibility has dropped to 0 from FOX4 looking downtown. So this signifies to me that the core of the storm is actually right now moving through, say, the west side neighborhood and the crossroads, and I'm trying to look out to see if there's any power flashes there. Not really seeing anything right now, but I think looking here at radar, if there's a couplet or a rotation right now, it is actually kind of moving up here through almost, say, downtown Kansas City, Midtown, maybe 35th Street in Maine. So it's really kind of right in the heart of the city if there is still rotation. So there you go. That's what is that, Maine at about 35th, 36, maybe near Lynn. So kind of moving through Midtown right now is the strongest wind. Even if it's not a tornado, this is the push and surge of really strong winds that has rapidly dropped the visibility. So right here through the heart of the metro is where we have the potential for a quick spin up, and may have already spun up and it may be off the ground, or it may not have touched down at all. But the tornado warning continues here until midnight. I'll also pull up, I've been trying here off camera at our tower cameras. We have our camera down on Country Club Plaza. That is also showing the visibility really dropping. Here's some of the raindrops, but the visibility is better. You can see some of the lightning there off in the distance. And even now in the last couple of seconds, it looks like visibility has rapidly improved here from our FOX4 tower camera. Just, 60 seconds ago, we couldn't see anything here. So it looks like the strongest surge and possible a spin up has just moved east, and now it's kind of on the Jackson County side. So I would say now, if there is still a quick spin up or anything on the leading edge of this line, I think it's across the state line, Joe, now into Jackson County. So Johnson County, at least for the immediate tornado threat, I would say is now clear.
Yeah, agreed. In looking at some of the data, and by the way, in my communications with my colleagues down in Pleasant Hill, they're going to keep the tornado warning going for just a little while longer and then issue a new severe thunderstorm warning just towards the east of that tornado warning. That would encompass more of Jackson County, especially the central and northern portion of Jackson County, perhaps even southern Clay County. And it'll be a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. So we've been observing radar as Jacob was talking to you live on the air, and I was behind the scenes looking at some data as well. It does kind of look like the storm may have gusted out. It may never have even produced a tornado. It may have, though, something very, very, very brief. These leading edge tornadoes, what we refer to as mesovortices, happen very, very quickly and typically dissipate very, very quickly. So sometimes they even kind of happen in between our radar scans, and it's tough to make out. But as Jacob has mentioned, if something would have touched down, we probably would have at least some indications of damage by now. Jacob, if you get a chance, can you check with Evergy Power? Let's see if there are any power outages in that general area of where the storm was. Here's a look at our current tornado warning. And again, this will go on for about another 10 minutes unless they cancel it beforehand. And Johnson County, we're going to give you now the clear sign. Wyandotte County will give you the clear sign as well. Jackson County, you're still involved in this with that area of strongest winds now pushing probably more towards getting just towards the west of Independence. So even downtown Kansas City, Missouri, we're going to go ahead and clear you as well. Even though if you're still hearing sirens, you're in the clear now in downtown Kansas City. A couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings continue as well. So again, this tornado warning will go on for about another 10 minutes or so. It's just this little area here, but this little area encompasses a whole bunch of population around the Kansas City metropolitan area, as you could see. For you folks in Lee Summit, Blue Springs, this does not include you. For Blue Springs, let's just keep an eye on it. For Lee Summit, this will probably pass well to your north. Other areas that are now in the clear, again, most of Wyandotte County, Leavenworth County, Johnson County, you're now in the clear, despite the fact that some of you, especially the northern portion of Johnson County, may still hear the sirens going. But as we zoom in, again, if there is something trying to come back down, it would be probably near this Prospect Avenue area, right along 71, down towards 49. Here's out towards 350, 435 as well. So it would probably be right about there that we could see perhaps another attempt at a touchdown. But it does look to me like this thing is starting to gust out and perhaps not have that rotation that it did have literally about 20 minutes ago. So certainly some good news there. Just be on the lookout for maybe some 50-plus-mile-an-hour winds coming out of this storm, maybe 50 to 60-mile-an-hour winds. Although we haven't really gotten too many reports of any really damaging winds at this point, but it's early in the process. And again, we're talking something after, the day, middle of the night, around midnight. The update now taking this storm right towards Sugar Creek, down towards Raytown. That's where the leading edge is. So if there's something of interest, maybe it's right down there, and we'll go ahead and see if we could find anything more from that. As we go further north along the line, storms up towards Cameron and around the Plattsburgh area do seem to be weakening just a little bit. We continue our severe thunderstorm warning for Smithville, but the worst of that storm now has moved off to your east-northeast. Excelsior Springs, Buckner, Blue Springs now under a severe thunderstorm warning, and again, I think they're putting a tornado possible tag on this thing, so just something to watch for. I don't necessarily need you to get to your safe spot, but I want you to be ready if you're waking up to get into your safe spot. There'll be a lot of thunder and lightning associated with that. But that's just a huge wall of rain coming on down. Sort of interesting, it seems like the lightning may be sort of weakening just a little bit in terms of just how many lightning bolts the storm has been generating. So we'll continue to watch this pretty carefully. Again, the warning goes for about another 7 minutes or so. And for you folks out towards Sugar Creek, Independence, you're not in that warning right now. Likewise over towards Buckner and around the Sibley area. But I want you folks to really pay attention to this storm as it continues to move off towards the east. Not really seeing that couplet action that we saw about 20 minutes ago. So basically, again, this kind of confirms to me that we may be just now looking at a storm with strong gusty winds being pushed out of it. Temperatures are now starting to drop off very quickly as the cold front has started now to work into the metro as well. If you step outside, you'll feel that, especially if you live from the state line westward with these falling temperatures with the colder air pouring into the area. So this is the easternmost point of that tornado warning. You kind of make it out right there. That's our red polygon. And anything that would try to spin up would be right around here. And I'm just not seeing anything at this point. I want to go back over to Jacob just to confirm what I'm looking at is the same thing that he's looking up. Jacob.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. So it sounds like here at midnight, the warning is going to expire. I did want to let you know, I did check Evergy, and so there's about 50 power outages, a couple of small neighborhoods near Hawker Grove Middle School. Okay, so that's Shawnee, right about 55th and Neiman. So that is maybe where there was a brief spin up somewhere between Lake Quivira and Shawnee right before, say, it got to I-35 at Metcalf Avenue. So I would say the 55th Street, Neiman near Shawnee, Hawker Grove, that's kind of the zone maybe where there was a quick spin up. If that happened even, again, it showed up on radar for about 1 or 2 scans and is pretty much now done. So again, this tornado warning is going to expire here in 5 minutes. And as Joe was just telling you, right now, we're not really seeing anything that is indicating that this is spinning anything up right now. There's no little kinks in the line or rotation that we watch for. So this new severe thunderstorm warning, this is going to go until 12:30 now, and this is for much further off towards the east, all the way to Odessa, Richmond, Knoxville, so southern Clay County, most of Jackson County. It includes Raytown, Blue Springs, Lee Summit. As this storm moves off towards the east, almost 1 million people in this severe warning alone. And this is really for the 60-mile-per-hour winds. We saw the visibility drop as those strong winds moved through here on our FOX4 tower camera, and the heavy rain and strong winds with this. And then there's still the National Weather Service saying there's the potential for maybe another quick spin up. So we can check here on the velocity, our wind mode a little bit. Right now, all of these kind of moving in generally the same direction. The greens moving kind of towards the east and southeast. And so right now I'm not seeing anything in the terms of rotation here. And we really never even picked up debris on radar. So that's a good sign. This is the severe thunderstorm warning though now. So these are just the polygons. We have a severe thunderstorm warning essentially from Edgerton through Smithville and then most of Clay County, Ray, Lafayette, and Jackson County now for the next 30 minutes. So this tornado warning, it's going to expire here in about 3.5 minutes. It looks like that the quick spin up might have been right around Shawnee, right around 55th Street. And now that is kind of straightened back out, but still a line of damaging winds is pushing off towards the east at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So I'll put an ETA on this for you. Right now, moving through Liberty, Blue Springs, and Lee Summit. This is pushing out towards the east here. So an ETA out towards, say, Sibley in the next 10 minutes. Blue Springs, 12:05. Excelsior Springs, 12:15. Oak Grove, 12:15, Bates City, 12:20, Richmond, Missouri, 12:30, Lexington around 12:35. So really the Kansas side now is essentially in the clear and the metro from the severe threat. It was this quick wave of wind that we were predicting for this evening, and unfortunately these kind of ramped up right as they hit the state line and maybe did one of those things that we were talking about, what we call a brief spin-up tornado that maybe lasted 60 seconds at worst case. And so that's why that tornado warning came out pretty quickly for parts of the metro. But it looks like that is now going to be expiring here in moments notice, Joe, and we'll just have to watch this line as it moves east over the next hour or so.
Yeah, another 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes, 20 seconds or so with this tornado warning. I want to kind of give you folks up towards Liberty, Excelsior Springs, Buckner, Green Valley, and over towards the Odessa area heads up as well. You folks are still under this severe thunderstorm warning. Just got a report a little while ago, Country Club Plaza, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's probably about what this storm is going to be able to do at this point. But I do wonder about, as these storms get further away from Kansas City, if they still might be able to generate one of these little quick forming, quick spin up type things that only last for a minute or two before they dissipate. So this is something that we've been concerned about. But in all honesty, with the way the storms behaved for the entire night as they progressed across the state of Kansas, I don't want to say I'm totally surprised, a little surprised that thing was able to just perk up a little spit up just as it approached the Kansas City area. Really kind of fascinating and remarkable at the same time. Our tornado warning again will expire here. The circulation itself has weakened along the leading edge. Probably still has the ability of producing 40 to 60-mile-an-hour winds. And when you see these yellow areas, which represent severe thunderstorm warnings, and they're outlined by the red outline, that is what we refer to as a tornado possible tag. So basically it means we're watching the storms in this general area just in case they try to, once again, especially along the leading edge, try to spin something up. That's why we say a tornado is possible, but nothing has been at least reported in the last few minutes, or the last 15 minutes really, from this whole storm. Jacob mentioned some of the power outages that are out there, just a handful, but it might be indicative of either a little localized area of strong straight line winds or maybe a brief tornado touchdown. Jacob.
And so, yeah, those power outages, Joe, have rapidly gone up right along the track of this storm, now up to almost 1,000. And we also have reports of a power outage or a power flash from the possible spin-up tornado right there at Mission. I told you, I-35 at Metcalf Avenue. So this is going to be an area that probably tomorrow the National Weather Service is going to have to investigate. What does the wind damage look like? Was it a quick spin-up tornado? Was it not? Was it straight line winds? We also have a 60-mile-per-hour wind report from Country Club Plaza. So these are the reports that are just now coming in. And it looks like that the severe threat is continuing to push off towards the east. So this is kind of that zone from, say, Lake Quivira, Shawnee, Mission to the Plaza, where we had that strong surge and maybe a quick spin up within the last 30 minutes. So that's pushing off towards the east here now. And it looks like that we're continuing to monitor for those gusts on the Missouri side now as this storm moves away. Pretty stout line here. We're watching for any embedded spin ups, but right now I think, Joe, we're okay. It looks like we're still watching for a couple surges, and we're just gonna have to monitor this closely. It's still gonna be probably another hour or two before this line moves all the way out of our area past Marshall and into central Missouri.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and stay on the air for a little while longer just to get these storms a little further east of Kansas City, just in case something tries to re-intensify. I'm kind of keeping an eye on this little area down towards the Blue Springs area. Notice how we've got a little cell that's developed just ahead of that main little line. This is on the southern flank of that wall of rain and this wall of thunderstorms that stretches from Liberty down towards the Birmingham area, towards Independence, now east of Raytown, right towards Independence Center, and then stretching right down 470 to just north of the Lee Summit area. That's going to be down towards Woods Chapel Road, the golf course down there, out towards Adams Dairy Parkway, that general vicinity. So I'm a little curious about that little area right down there. But again, this area is now outlined by a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. Again, doesn't mean that there's a tornado on the ground. There isn't right this second, I don't believe. But it does mean that there's the potential that something can still try to spin up very briefly right along this leading edge. This is something that we'll see sometimes during March, April, into early May, and then usually we transition it to the more traditional bigger threats of bigger tornadoes. These type of things typically are very, very small. They typically only last for a minute or two, if even that long. And sometimes they just are correlated with a little area of enhanced winds, enhanced damaging winds. And that's what we've seen perhaps with some of the power outage reports coming out of Johnson County and moving into Kansas City and into Jackson County itself. So again, let's continue to kind of watch this. 60-mile-an-hour winds seem like a pretty doable thing with this. Some indications above the surface that there are still some favorable parameters there that we can get a couple of these little spin-ups to try to reform in the next few minutes. So that's why I want to just kind of stay on the air and kind of walk this thing through for about another maybe 15, 30 minutes or so until we're pretty convinced that the threat of tornadic weather, at least here in the metro, has faded. But again, if you live on the Kansas side, you're done essentially with all of this. This is going to be the main show in town. It's now over on the Missouri side, and it'll be heading towards Excelsior Springs, Oric, Buckner, Blue Springs, Oak Grove today, by the way, or yesterday. Now that we've flipped the clock over to Saturday, yesterday the anniversary of that EF3 tornado in Oak Grove back in 2017. So kind of ironic in a sense, I guess. But you kind of see that whole little line of thunderstorms, still frisky, still potentially producing winds of 40 to maybe 60 miles an hour or so. But no additional reports have come in regarding that in the last few minutes or the last about 15 minutes or so, ever since we got that one report out towards Country Club Plaza of a 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. Jacob.
Yeah, okay, so here's that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that was at 11:45 on the plaza. And then this was the wind damage, which was really the power flash reportedly in Merriam, Kansas from 11:38. So again, it was quick. I mean, 10 minutes max, I think, if there was a brief spin up. I wanted to show you the time lapse here from Country Club Plaza in the last hour. Whoosh. Okay, so let's watch this again. So starting at 11 o'clock last night, we can see coming from the northwest, and then the wall of rain and wind really hit the plaza right there after 11:30. And the wind really shook and the visibility dropped rapidly. So if you live east of Kansas City, this is what's going to be heading in your direction with the strong winds. And that time lapse right there is what measured 60 miles per hour. Boom, right there on the plaza. So we also have a lot of lightning with this here in the metro. Just in the last 15 minutes, almost 400 lightning strikes. So these are electric storms. You've been seeing them probably off in the distance over the last couple of hours this evening as they've been out in Kansas, slowly heading our way. So this is the severe thunderstorm warning, and it is now kind of moving out towards Oak Grove, Buckner, Excelsior Springs, and eventually out towards Rayville, Richmond, Odessa, and Lexington. And this goes until 12:30. So it looks like downtown Kansas City, Midtown proper have been removed from this severe thunderstorm warning. Once this line moves through, you're done with the severe threat for the night. So this is the main event that we were telling you would be in that 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. range, and here we are, right? So I'm still watching a little bit of the velocity if there's a chance for any spin-ups. Typically, we would need to see these reds and greens really close together and kind of rotating around each other just a little bit, and I'm not seeing that really right now. Maybe along 291, but I'm not really convinced. So this is just kind of the leading edge we're going to have to watch as this moves off towards the east. So regardless of any rotation, we're still seeing strong winds out of this. And I did want to query some of these. It's not at the best angle, but we've had those reports of 60 miles per hour. So I'll just put a track on these strong winds here to give you an ETA pushing out towards the east. And this really has already moved through Independence. So Grain Valley here in the next 10 minutes, out towards Oric in the next 15, Fleming maybe by 12:30 at the latest. And so this will continue to push off towards the east. So generally now it looks like the heart of the city, downtown, midtown, the plaza, we are in the clear. But the severe threat now is pushing off here towards the east as the lightning and rain continue in Wyandotte and Johnson County. But we're kind of done. I know those alerts, the sirens really kind of got everyone's attention really quickly, but this line is moving really quickly at about 50 miles per hour or so. So once it moves through, it lasts for about 5 minutes and then we're done. So hopefully we'll kind of continue to move this out, and maybe that'll be the only tornado warning we get, Joe.
Keep our fingers crossed, that is for sure, because we're keeping an eye very carefully on what's going on across the eastern portion of Jackson County, around the Blue Springs area in particular. Here's a look at some of our cameras around the region. And again, there's still some rain out there, and also now we're seeing these temperatures really start to drop off. Severe thunderstorm warnings till 12:30, parts of Clay, Jackson, Lafayette, Ray County. So no more tornado warnings. Hopefully we'll keep that going for the remainder of the night. And this particular severe thunderstorm warning again goes for about another 23 minutes or so as the storm continues to push over onto the Missouri side, stretching from Excelsior Springs to Liberty to Buckner down towards Blue Springs and around Odessa. That seems to be roughly the outline of this severe thunderstorm warning. For those of you who have been flipping through the channels, when we have this little red outline like what you see, that indicates tornado possible. Nothing on the ground to this point with this, at least not in the last 15, 20, 30 minutes or so. But there's still a few things going on within these thunderstorms that kind of throwing up some yellow flags for us as we take a look at radar. And that's why we're continuing to just mention that there is still a tornado possible in this general area, particularly down towards the I-70 corridor. So my colleagues at the National Weather Service just brought up what I told you about maybe 5-10 minutes ago about these little cells in advance of that main line. Now, the last time that happened, we got that perhaps little quick spin up near Shawnee or close to it, perhaps just east of Shawnee. And sure enough, we still have a couple of little advanced little cells right there that the main line is going to ingest. It's going to kind of gobble this up. And sometimes when that occurs, I'm going to scooch back into the Weather Center real quickly and give you a closer view of this. When that occurs, sometimes that allows the storm to rotate very quickly, very, very quickly. And that's the reason why we're still a little concerned about this I-70 corridor, roughly from near Blue Springs to Oak Grove. Looks like everything is basically moving towards the east-northeast, so I want you folks in Wellington kind of keep an eye on that as well. So it would be right in here if anything were to try to do a little spinning. It might be right there. It's also on the southern edge of this whole little wall of thunderstorm activity. So you folks in Oak Grove, just, you know, don't have to run to your basement at this point. I just want you to just be aware of this for the next about maybe 10 minutes. Because as Jacob mentioned, everything is moving at close to 50 miles an hour, so it's not going to last for all that long at all. There's probably a little hail going on with some of this activity as well. 24 down towards I-70, very small stuff. Really haven't really seen anything much bigger than peas coming out of these storms, and the history is most of the storms aren't even really producing much in the way of hail. But again, this little general area, southern portions of Jackson County from roughly 24 down to I-70, just kind of pay attention to this, and this is going to be approaching the county line of Jackson and Lafayette County here in the next about maybe 10-15 minutes or so. So we'll clear Jackson County pretty quickly here, I think, because if there's going to be anything kind of nasty from this, it's going to be right along that leading edge. Let's take you further up the line. Not seeing anything overly concerning at this point up towards Bramer and around the Lawson area, just some really fast downpours, thunder and lightning. Things dry out. This is the back edge of the whole mess. From Agency to Dearborn, down towards Leavenworth and down towards Bonner Springs. Things are drying out towards your west as the colder air pours into the western portion of the metro area. So again, we'll keep an eye right in this general area near Blue Springs. That would be very close to Highway 7. Could have a little hail right now around the Highway 7 area, small stuff. And then if there's anything that tries to spin up, it may be right there towards Grain Valley, soon to be close to the Oak Grove area as well. So still watching some of these storms, still some thunder and lightning on the backside, but things will be settling down even for this area into Jackson County. Not seeing any circulations there. Broader view for you. Again, you kind of see everything now weakening to a large extent, 435 south. It's just bizarre. Weather does weird things. And it wasn't really doing much of anything, and then it just pulsed up right around Shawnee, got that little quick couplet, and then that quickly faded, and all these other storms have faded as well, except for that little area from Excelsior Springs all the way down towards the Blue Springs area. So still some storms out there that we're keeping an eye on, that is for sure, just in case any of them continue to try to show that leading edge little couplet type of thing as they continue to move towards the Missouri side. This activity down towards Miami County into the northwestern portion of Lynn County on the Kansas side, Anderson County as well. You could tell this stuff is really just a shell of what it was, literally, 15, 20 minutes ago. So these things are weakening very, very quickly as the colder air races on out. And again, for areas up to our north towards Braemar, you guys have got a nice little thunderstorm just to your north that's heading right towards Chillicothe. Not seeing anything of overly concerning notation right now. Here's our velocity data. We'll keep an eye on that general area towards the Blue Springs area and just towards the north of I-70. These little notches bear some watching. But again, so far, so good in terms of a lack of tornado warnings. Look at these temperatures. So we're right now around 62 up at KCI, but it drops to 41 in Atchison, 46 in Lawrence, 40 in Topeka, 38 in Holton. So these temperatures are starting to crash, and that's the push of cold air that's also enabling some of these thunderstorms to get a little bit more vigorous as they move into and through the western, or actually eastern side of Kansas City. Jacob.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So I want to take a quick look here. We've turned our Fox 4 tower camera to face off towards the east now. So you can see there's Liberty Memorial Crown Center. So we're looking kind of from the backside, if you will, into the severe thunderstorms that are still pushing east across Jackson County. A good amount of lightning, and that's really kind of all we can see. Sometimes the lightning will illuminate some features for us, but on the backside of the storm, really hard to see that. We do continue our tornado watch. I have an update though, and it looks like that everyone essentially west of the metro has been dropped from the tornado watch. And there we go. As I say that, Leavenworth County, Buchanan County have just been dropped from the tornado watch. So I would say in the next hour, the metro should be dropped as well. As this storm line moves east, the National Weather Service are doing a great job of dropping the watch rapidly, because again, as soon as we've been saying, as soon as this line passes through, we are done with our severe weather threat. Right now, it's just this lone severe thunderstorm warning until 12:30, Clay, Jackson, Lafayette, and Ray counties, and that's about it for us. I wanted to show you the ingredients that have unfortunately just come together right here at the perfect time as we have made it to midnight. And it's the mid-level jet stream is just screeching above us. Over in Omaha, we're seeing significant strong winds in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and then in the bottom of the atmosphere, we're getting this low-level jet stream that has really kicked into gear within the last 3 hours, and that has created a little bit more spin. We've been kind of talking all day about how we were lacking the instability of the cloud cover. It limited how much fuel the storms would have. The spin has always been there, and just the oomph needed from that mid-level jet stream kind of caused the storms to perk up just a little bit right as they move through the metro, unfortunately. So just kind of not ideal timing. Here's the severe thunderstorm warning again. Right now, the worst of the storm is moving through Excelsior Springs, Buckner, Oak Grove, out towards the Ray and Lafayette County line. So it's going to be moving away from the metro rapidly, but still out towards Rayville, Richmond, Odessa here within the next 10 to 15 minutes with really strong winds, 60 miles per hour. This is our Fox 4 rotation tracker. And you can see the history of some of the rotation here. I want to even zoom in on this maybe just a touch more and show you kind of where the rotation tracked, right? So it picked up and started right over Merriam and Shawnee. It moved through the plaza and moved through Independence, and now it's pushing out between Blue Springs and Oak Grove right along I-70. Joe's been showing you that area. We're watching. It's not spinning up right now, but it's weak rotation enough. And so this has been kind of that almost due easterly track right along I-70 of where the strongest winds and potential for that kink in the line to spin up has been over the last hour. So we're still watching the velocity or the wind mode, although nothing right now is indicating that there's rotation trying to form just north of Blue Springs or Oak Grove. So that's good news. We're watching this, the National Weather Service is watching this, and so right now that's why this is a severe thunderstorm warning. So there's no tornado warnings in effect, which is good. There's also no debris being indicated at all on our debris indicator, so that's good news as well. So really kind of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts with this warning as it moves off towards the east, and we'll see here shortly if they continue to extend that further out towards Ray, Carroll, maybe even parts of Saline County off towards the east. So that's what we're going to be watching here. I did just want to pull up quickly the future radar to show you kind of what's going to be happening here over the next hour or two as this line of storms moves off to the east and away from the metro. So we just had the wall of wind and rain and that quick spin up. So here in the next hour, that's going to move from, say, Harrisonville to Odessa to Carrollton. By 2 a.m., it's in Marshall, Warrensburg, Sedalia, and Clinton. And by 3 a.m., it's into central Missouri, and it will continue to weaken as it moves away from us. So I think by 3 a.m., everything's pretty much done for the entire FOX4 region and will be quiet to start off your Saturday. As Joe mentioned, though, temperatures are really dropping tomorrow, and it's going to be a much cooler, kind of breezy air with clouds lingering through the first half of your day on your Saturday. So the winds, I think in the morning, gusts anywhere from 20 to 25 miles per hour. So a bit of a breeze. It's a chilly breeze Saturday. Those could maybe get up to 30 even by late morning. So overall, tomorrow is cooler. Clouds in the morning, sun in the afternoon, and we only get to around 49 degrees. So yeah, you'll need the jacket on Saturday. Thankfully, the weekend looking much quieter though, which is good news, Joe. Kind of just unfortunately, right as it hit the metro, it feels like this line just ramped up. And you called it. You said that cell that was coming into the line, you know, those mergers and nudgers, as we call them, that kind of is just enough spin to kick something up.
So, you know, it's been fascinating to watch how nothing was really going on. It kind of has a lulling effect. You're like, well, something should be happening, nothing's happening. Something should be happening, nothing's happening. Something should be happening, nothing's happening. And this went on for hours. And, you know, then we started to, you know, the storm started to get a little more vigorous when they got towards Topeka, 50 to 55 mile an hour winds. That wasn't surprising because we've been telling you for the whole week that we had the strongest chance of getting stronger straight line winds than anything else out of this whole thing. And then we started to notice on radar, like Jacob mentioned, these little leading cells ahead of the main line. And they were going up and the line was coming into them. And as I mentioned a little while ago, sometimes what will happen is those little baby leading cells will get ingested into the little line of thunderstorms coming on through. And that allows those little thunderstorms, the bigger thunderstorms, I should say, to start rotating just a little bit more closest to the ground. And that's how you get what we refer to as a quasi-linear convective little system, a QLCS. And that's how you get these little spinnies, these little brief spin-ups. And sure enough, there you go. Weird, but you know, it's Kansas City. We get some weird weather around here, and that's certainly been the case over the last really few days and last couple of months, if you think about it, when you think about how warm it's been for much of the winter. Right now, Kansas City's starting to dry out. There's still some pretty good thunderstorms that are out there, but they're now mostly off towards the east. The severe thunderstorm warning continues up until about 12:30 or so for about another 11 minutes. That's how long we'll stay on the air, up until about 12:30, just on the assumption that everything will be much better after that. And the threat of any tornadic weather will be fading by the wayside by then. But we'll be watching it. We'll be staying here as long as necessary, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it takes, just to make sure that these storms don't do anything more the further east they get away from Kansas City. As Jacob mentioned, for those of you just joining us, the tornado watch that was in effect until roughly 4 a.m. has now been dropped. For you folks up in northwest Missouri, that was dropped a while back, and now we're starting to see some of the counties on the western side of the area get dropped from that as well. Tell you what, we could probably drop Platte, Wyandotte, Johnson, Miami, and Lynn County. You folks are done. You don't have any more risk of tornadoes. Certainly some good news, and hopefully we'll continue to drop some of these counties quicker here over the next couple of hours. We continue to have this severe thunderstorm warning that I just illustrated for you. This goes until 12:30. The reason why we have this little red outline, we're still throwing that tornado possible connection to this line of thunderstorms. I just checked with the Weather Service while Jacob was giving you an update. Not seeing anything overly concerning along the leading edge so far, so that's certainly some good news. But again, we're going to keep an eye on things. Again, kind of see how these little cells ahead, here's the main line, and these little cells, now these things seem to have a little bit more momentum in moving off towards the north and east, so maybe they'll outrace the main line. It's when the two kind of get absorbed together. That's when we watch for these little spin-ups sometimes. But we'll certainly watch this little cell, especially the one that's right on the county border, very close to the river, Missouri River, just towards the east of Buckner right now. That little core down there might be producing a little bit of hail. And then we've got some of these stronger thunderstorms up towards Polo, some heavy rains down 435 and down 470 towards the Lee Summit area, extending down towards Belton, moving soon into Pleasant Hill. And then once you get west of there, this activity, Wyandotte County down towards DeSoto, is innocuous. It's just a little brief, quick shot of some moderate rain, and then it's going to end very quickly. You could see, once you get west of there, we're done. That's it. That's the colder air pouring into the west side of the metro. So again, with this severe thunderstorm warning going for about another 8 minutes or so, we'll continue to watch that right area there, that main north to south little line. I don't think this activity down here will do much of anything. It seems to be weakening too as it moves off into the Missouri side. So again, here's the core of that little storm. It's not really showing any signs of that little quick spin up indicator, at least not to us on radar. A couple little advanced cells, a little thunderstorm now near and just towards the east of Higginsville. This storm is coming right on top of Richmond here very shortly. Again, maybe a 50 or 60 mile an hour wind gust, but I don't think I've seen anything in terms of any strong winds aside from that one report that we got towards the plaza about maybe a half hour or so ago, maybe even a little bit longer than that. So I haven't seen any reports of damaging winds connected to that. I haven't looked at the power situation. That's usually a pretty good indicator, but at least nothing has been reported to the National Weather Service in terms of intense winds. Still has the ability of producing maybe 40 to 60 mile an hour winds, but at least we're not seeing anything right now. Napoleon, you're getting it pretty good right now. Wellington, if you're not getting it good, you will soon within the next few minutes. Likewise towards Lexington, up towards Henrietta. Expect a brief shot of some pretty heavy rain, and then the rain will start to lighten up a little bit, but it's still raining pretty good over towards Buckner and points west from there along 24 Highway. So again, with the fast movement of these storms, I'm not overly concerned about flooding at this point, especially at night. That's never a good thing. But it's going to rain pretty hard for maybe 10, 20 minutes or so. And I wanted to just kind of show you our velocity product. Just as I'm looking, we're doing this all together. We're looking at these things together, you and I, and I'm looking for any little couplets. And you could tell there's really no tight red, green little areas. This is not really one, but there's really no tight red-green areas where they're really bumping up against each other, which would be a little bit more of a cause of concern. So that's certainly some welcome news as far as this particular storm goes as it moves now into the western portion of Lafayette County. Bigger picture for you, there are your thunderstorms from Chillicothe to Polo, east of Lawson, into Ray County right now. Parts of Ray County, you folks are under that severe thunderstorm warning until about 12:30, about another 6 minutes or so. Northeastern portions of Jackson County, the threat of any really bad weather has come to an end now for Jackson County. The threat of maybe some heavier rains and maybe a 40 or 50 mile an hour wind gust now has shifted over into the northwest corner of Lafayette County right along the Missouri River. For Jackson County itself, still have some lightning going on the backside of this whole thing, but you can tell how the rain is lightening up considerably as everything continues to progress off towards the east at around 50 miles an hour. I mean, this stuff is flying. Areas further south, a little perk up now near Harrisonville. Here's 49. All right, there's Belton down towards Cleveland. All right, so these storms have fired up. This is probably right along the cold front itself. You kind of see how these thunderstorms pushed out that little thin green line. That's probably the cold front or at least some outflow, and that's sparking some new thunderstorms. Remember, it's in the 60s ahead of this with dew points in the 60s too, so it's soupy. And as these storms move into that soupiness, they're still maintaining themselves, but hopefully they're not nearly as strong as what they were just a little while ago. Still some pretty good thunderstorms also near Shawnee, where everything kind of got rocking and rolling a little while ago, moving into Wyandotte County, but those storms are not severe. Further down the line, Lynn County, eastern portions of Anderson County, now all the activity east of Garnett. Just a heads up for Lacine, quick shot of some rain coming your way. Shouldn't last for all that long, and this should probably do it. But for the 49 highway corridor people from Harrisonville to Adrian to Butler to Rich Hill, nice little shot of some rain coming in here in the next maybe half hour to hour's time. And it'll be in, it'll be out. You'll probably hear the thunder, you'll see some lightning bolts out there, and then things will start to shut down after that. So that's kind of a quick recap of what's going on. Again, we continue to have that severe thunderstorm warning for at least the eastern portion of our metro area, eastern portions of Clay County into Ray County and into Lafayette County, and that goes for about another 3.5 minutes. Jacob.
Yes, Joe, so we're almost kind of done with the severe weather warnings, at least active here in the metro. Boy, we're adding on to the rainfall totals. Even this morning, we got 1 to 3 inches on the south side, so now we're getting an extra inch plus, I think, across with these quick downpours coming through. Again, those wind gusts that Joe was mentioning, kind of the one measurable wind we have is from the plaza, and that was at 11:45, so almost 45 minutes ago. They measured 60 miles per hour, so that was verifying the severe thunderstorm warning, which is why they've taken it downstream into Jackson, Lafayette, and Ray counties. But without further reports, they're probably going to let it expire and not extend downstream. And we're going to have to see exactly what some of the wind damage looks like. So it looks like the warning has been canceled now, or is it going to expire, Joe?
Expires a severe thunderstorm warning just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
So that's good news.
There we go. Yeah, so still about, it's looking like 1,500 to 100 to 2,000 customers without power across the metro. So that line kind of definitely did a thing as that wind gust moved through kind of Merriam and the heart of Midtown Kansas City. Here's the view from the tower camera, that lightning getting further and further off into the distance as the storms now move away from us. So this is the only severe warning now. Again, the watch will probably be dropped here for the metro, I would say, in the next hour as this moves away. And the lightning count remains around 350 here within the last 15 minutes. So nothing severe up here north from Knoxville to Bramer to Chillicothe, just some lightning and heavy rain there. This is the severe warning moving through kind of Lexington now is kind of the beefiest storm right on the Missouri River. There was a little bit of a hail report out of Blue Springs and Buckner from about 15 minutes ago, so that core may continue to move off towards the east. We'll have to watch a little bit of this action trying to get ahead of the line. That is what kind of triggered the original quick possible spin up as it moved in and kind of merges with the line. We call those a merger or a nudge on the line, and that causes maybe the winds to go in a little bit different direction than they are used to here in this line. This is a rotation tracker too. And again, I think this kind of shows the story well. It's maybe a little bit hard to see, but hopefully you can see kind of the history of the rotation starting right there near Shawnee, Merriam, and now pushing all the way almost right along I-70 here. So we'll see tomorrow. I was going to see if I can put on the local storm reports here. We do have there was a wind damage report or the power flash near Merriam. That was at Metcalf Avenue and 35, and then the wind gust report from the plaza. So we'll see, I bet tomorrow, Joe, Weather Service might see, is the straight line wind damage. What does it look like out there in northern Johnson County?
Well, remember last year when we had that little EF0 go through Arrowhead.
Yeah.
It was impossible to find really much of it in the way of damage except for a flipped over porta potty. So, and there were a couple of little things, but it's really difficult sometimes with these very weak tornadoes. If it was a very weak tornado, sometimes it's kind of difficult to find some of this damage. But again, we had some power outages, so something may have happened. Look, again, here are the storms. That warning is now going to expire in the next few seconds, stretching from Bramer down towards Richmond, and then it goes further south from there. So we're going to go ahead and conclude our severe weather coverage right now with no more warnings that are currently in effect. Don't worry, Jacob and I are going to stay here as long as we need to. We need to get these storms out of our viewing area. That's going to happen probably in the next about hour and a half or so. So we'll stay here just in case something gets going again, especially off towards the east, south of Bramer, maybe towards 65 Highway. We'll keep a very careful eye on you folks from roughly Chillicothe to Carrollton over to Richmond, just in case something gets going here pretty soon. If so, we'll jump right back on the air and we'll get you folks to a safe spot. With that said, let's go ahead and send it back to programming.